The Pentagon is not just a five-sided building in Arlington, Virginia. It has become a symbol of U.S. military power, embodying both glory and honor, while also evoking distrust and even fear among its adversaries. This is where strategic decisions are made, decisions that determine the safety of millions. The Pentagon's personnel, officers, analysts, and engineers work daily to protect the nation, with their actions and plans having a global reach, from peacekeeping missions in Africa to military operations in the Middle East. But serving here means working under constant pressure and in an environment of uncertain outcomes. Any decision can influence the course of international events, and sometimes the fate of the world itself. The Pentagon remains the heart of America's military strength, a place where prestige stands side by side with risk, and where honor is inseparably tied to responsibility. September 11, 2001, became a turning point in the history of the Pentagon. On that day, the building, long seen as a symbol of absolute security, proved vulnerable, as one of its sides was destroyed in a terrorist attack. Along with the physical damage came the loss of the myth of complete invulnerability. However, the Pentagon was not only rebuilt in record time but also redesigned to meet new realities. Security systems were strengthened, counterterrorism measures were developed, and advanced monitoring and protection technologies were implemented. Today, the Pentagon remains a highly complex institution that coordinates every aspect of national security, from cyber defense and intelligence to planning operations thousands of miles from the United States. The experience of September 11th has made it not only stronger but also better prepared for the threats of the 21st century. It is the headquarters of the U.S. Department of Defense, coordinating the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, and Space Force, making it one of the largest and most complex institutions in human history. Within its five sides, senior military leaders, intelligence analysts, and strategic planners work to direct operations that span the globe. It is both a nerve center of global military strategy and a symbol of American power, where critical decisions are made that influence the security and stability of nations worldwide. A typical day in the Pentagon begins before dawn. At 4:30 a.m. the first staff arrive: security teams, early shift analysts, and senior aides, preparing for the influx of activity. By 6:30 a.m. the building is fully operational, with thousands of military officers, civilian specialists, and contractors working across its five vast corridors. Over 200 official phone calls are placed each day, linking the Pentagon to military commands, embassies, and NATO headquarters. Around 30 cups of coffee are brewed in offices and conference rooms to fuel strategy sessions, intelligence briefings, and planning meetings. More than 1 million emails are sent and received daily, containing everything from urgent deployment orders to classified intelligence reports. Unusual events are part of the routine. Unexpected visits from high-ranking generals, emergency briefings triggered by global incidents, or sudden logistical shifts to support operations overseas. Every task, whether a brief phone conversation or a high-level decision, fits into a complex system that drives U.S. defense operations worldwide. Strategic discussions within the Pentagon are critical to shaping the future of the U.S. military and national security. One key figure in these debates is General Jack Keane, a retired four-star general known for his expertise in military transformation. General Keane emphasizes the importance of investing in mobile assets, such as rapidly deployable armored units, drones, and advanced logistics systems, to increase the Army's flexibility and responsiveness in modern warfare. His insights influence not only military planners but also policymakers responsible for defense budgets and procurement. At the core of these strategic conversations is the Joint Chiefs of Staff, a body composed of the highest-ranking officers from each branch of the military. This committee provides the President, and the Secretary of Defense with informed advice on military operations and defense policy. They evaluate ongoing conflicts, assess emerging threats, and develop options for future engagements. Their guidance ensures that the nation's military actions are coordinated, effective, and aligned with broader political objectives. Current discussions often focus on the prolonged wars in Afghanistan and other volatile regions. The Pentagon's leadership analyzes the evolving security situation, the effectiveness of counterinsurgency strategies, and the impact of troop deployments. These talks also include planning for the potential drawdown of forces, the transition of responsibilities to local governments, and the risks of regional instability. By examining lessons learned and forecasting future challenges, the Joint Chiefs and senior advisors aim to maintain U.S. military superiority while adapting to complex global dynamics. The Pentagon's approach to modern conflict increasingly relies on unconventional warfare, with special operations forces playing a central role. Unlike traditional large-scale battles, these elite units operate in smaller, highly trained teams that conduct covert missions, gather intelligence, and engage directly with local populations. In Afghanistan, for example, special operations forces have been essential in preparing the battlefield for precision airstrikes. By working closely with local resistance groups, they disrupt enemy supply lines, identify high-value targets, and create conditions that allow for effective aerial campaigns. This cooperation between ground special forces and air power has become a hallmark of the Pentagon's modern military strategy. Special operations forces are also skilled at navigating the complexities of irregular warfare, where enemies blend into civilian populations and traditional frontlines are blurred. This fog of war makes decision-making challenging, requiring real-time intelligence, flexible tactics, and deep cultural understanding. To address these challenges, the Pentagon has developed new doctrines emphasizing adaptability, rapid information sharing, and integrated joint operations between conventional and special forces. This unconventional approach extends beyond Afghanistan to other conflict zones where the U.S. military faces non-state actors and asymmetric threats. Special operations units conduct counterterrorism raids, train allied forces, and support stabilization efforts. Their missions often involve long-term engagement rather than quick, decisive battles, focusing on winning hearts and minds as much as defeating enemy combatants. One significant example of this information battle involves the potential release of a video recording featuring Osama bin Laden. This recording is believed to contain statements that could directly link him to the September 11 terrorist attacks. The publication of such evidence would serve as a powerful tool to reinforce the legitimacy of the U.S. response to terrorism and counter conspiracy theories that challenge bin Laden's responsibility. However, releasing this material also requires careful consideration of timing, potential security risks, and its impact on ongoing operations and diplomatic relations. Journalists play a vital role in the Pentagon by providing transparent and timely coverage of military affairs. Unlike many other government institutions, the Pentagon allows accredited reporters to move relatively freely within designated areas, enabling them to gather information firsthand. This access ensures that news coming out of the Pentagon is based on direct observation and interviews with key military officials, analysts, and spokespeople, which enhances the accuracy and depth of reporting. The Pentagon also holds regular press briefings. These briefings serve as a platform for clarifying ongoing operations, announcing policy changes, and responding to emerging crises. The interaction between journalists and Pentagon officials is essential for maintaining transparency and ensuring that the public receives timely and accurate information about national defense. The morning of September 11 started like any other weekday, with the usual traffic jams and commuting challenges in the Washington, D.C. area. People were going about their routines, unaware of the tragedy that would soon unfold. A friend from Fort Belvoir even joked earlier in the day about the unlikely possibility of an attack on the Pentagon, a thought that seemed almost absurd at the time. However, at exactly 8:46 a.m. that unimaginable scenario became reality when a hijacked airplane crashed into the Pentagon's outer wall at nearly 350 miles per hour. The impact caused massive destruction, shattering the sense of security that had surrounded the building and marking the beginning of one of the most devastating terrorist attacks in U.S. history. As the plane flew directly overhead, the narrator describes an overwhelming sense of emptiness followed by a powerful explosion. The sudden roar was accompanied by sharp whistles, the screeching of metal twisting under extreme force, and the cracking of wood splintering from the impact. Instantly, the lights went out, plunging the area into darkness. Debris and fragments rained down on people nearby, creating chaos and confusion. The sound and destruction marked a terrifying moment, as the shockwave and falling wreckage left everyone stunned and struggling to comprehend the scale of the attack. The Pentagon covers more than 6 million square feet, divided into 5 equal sections. Its unique design features 5 concentric rings, labeled from A to E, all connected by 10 corridors that allow anyone to walk between the farthest points in just a few minutes. This layout supports the work of roughly 23,000 military and civilian employees, many of whom remain at their desks for the entire day, coordinating operations, analyzing intelligence, and managing the complex functions of the U.S. Department of Defense. After the fires were extinguished, reconstruction of the Pentagon began. The mission was ambitious: to restore the damaged outer ring and bring employees back to their offices by the first anniversary of September 11. This goal was not only symbolic, but also a statement of resilience, showing that the Pentagon would recover quickly despite the scale of destruction. Construction crews worked around the clock, in all weather conditions, pushing forward through rain, heat, and freezing temperatures. The history of the Pentagon's construction is a story of urgency, innovation, and determination that unfolded against the backdrop of a world on the brink of total war. Work began on September 11, 1941, a date that, decades later, would carry a very different and tragic significance. At that time, the United States was not yet formally involved in World War II, but tensions were rising rapidly, and the War Department faced a pressing problem. Its offices were scattered across more than 20 buildings in Washington, D.C., making communications slow and coordination difficult. A central headquarters was urgently needed. The project was placed under the leadership of Brigadier General Brehon B. Somerville, a man known for his uncompromising drive and ability to deliver results under extreme pressure. Somerville gave the design team just a few days to produce workable plans for a building that would consolidate the War Department's operations under one roof. His requirements were ambitious. The structure needed to be fireproof, built entirely from non-combustible materials like reinforced concrete, and equipped with modern comforts unusual for the time, including a full air conditioning system to keep thousands of employees comfortable and productive year-round. The design chosen was highly unconventional. Instead of a traditional rectangular office building, the architects opted for a 5-sided layout, dictated in part by the irregular shape of the chosen site and the need to maximize efficiency. The final plan called for 5 concentric rings connected by 10 radial corridors, allowing workers to reach any point in the building in less than 7 minutes. A remarkable feature considering the building's vast size. This layout would prove so effective that it remains in use today, largely unchanged. Just 3 months after construction began, the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, brought the United States into World War II. The shocking event gave the project new urgency. What had been an important peacetime infrastructure initiative suddenly became a wartime necessity. Resources, manpower, and materials were prioritized for the Pentagon's construction, even as steel and other strategic materials became scarce due to war demands. Builders substituted concrete for steel wherever possible and streamlined their processes to avoid delays. The construction effort was enormous in scale. At its peak, more than 15,000 workers labored on site, working day and night shifts in all weather conditions. To speed progress, construction began before the final designs were even completed. A risky decision that demanded constant on-the-fly adjustments from engineers and architects. Roads were built to bring in materials, and temporary housing was provided for workers. Remarkably, the Pentagon was completed in just 16 months. A feat almost unimaginable today for a project of its size and complexity. By January 1943, the building was ready for full occupation. It covered over 6 million square feet, making it the largest office building in the world, with enough space to house more than 20,000 employees. Its cost, roughly $83 million at the time, over $1 billion in today's dollars, was seen as justified by the critical role it played in coordinating America's war effort. The decision to make it fireproof and climate-controlled ensured that it could serve as a secure, comfortable workplace for decades to come. Indeed, more than 80 years later, the building continues to serve as the nerve center of the Department of Defense, overseeing operations across the globe. Today, the Pentagon is not only the headquarters of the U.S. Department of Defense but also one of the most visited government buildings in the country, attracting hundreds of thousands of people each year. For newcomers, it can feel like entering a foreign country, complete with its own customs, internal rhythms, and a dense, specialized language made up of acronyms and military jargon. Many people who have never served in the military often carry a stereotypical image of service members, seeing them solely as warriors focused on combat and discipline. While strength and readiness are certainly part of military life, the reality is far more complex and human. Across the country, military personnel regularly take part in community outreach programs, volunteer initiatives, and humanitarian efforts. Blood drives, for example, are a common sight on bases, with soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines lining up to donate. They also mentor local youth, assist in disaster relief, and support schools and charities. Training soldiers is about far more than handing them weapons and sending them into the field. Young recruits arrive with raw potential, but transforming them into effective fighters requires instilling discipline, mental resilience, and the ability to work as part of a cohesive unit. Military training is rigorous by design. Long hours of drills, physical conditioning, and relentless practice under pressure. It is not only about mastering weapons but also about learning to endure hardship, follow orders in the chaos of combat, and remain focused when every instinct urges panic. Discipline ensures that soldiers can function with precision even in life-or-death situations, while the controlled use of force, sometimes harsh in training, prepares them for the realities they may face in battle. But preparation is not static, it evolves with technology. In 2003, the U.S. military prepared to introduce a groundbreaking combat system called Land Warrior. This high-tech gear was designed to dramatically increase both the safety and lethality of soldiers on the battlefield. Land Warrior integrated advanced communication tools, GPS navigation, real-time data sharing, and improved protective gear into a single system worn by the soldier. Imagine a fighter who can instantly share enemy positions with teammates, receive live mission updates through a helmet display, and navigate unfamiliar terrain with digital precision, all while carrying weapons optimized for modern combat. The goal was clear: to create soldiers who could outthink and outmaneuver the enemy while reducing their own vulnerability. Together, traditional discipline and cutting-edge technology formed the backbone of modern military readiness. Lobbying for the military budget is a complex and crucial task that involves navigating the intricate halls of Congress and balancing competing interests. Funding the Pentagon is often a source of intense debate. The military budget represents one of the largest portions of the federal government's spending, making it a target for scrutiny from lawmakers focused on reducing deficits or redirecting funds to domestic programs. Critics may argue that certain projects are too expensive or question the necessity of maintaining large forces during peacetime. Conversely, defense advocates stress the unpredictable nature of global threats and the need for constant preparedness. This push and pull creates a challenging environment where compromises must be made without undermining military effectiveness. Despite these challenges, successful lobbying efforts have led to significant achievements. For instance, after persistent advocacy, Congress approved increased funding for next-generation combat vehicles and cyber defense initiatives, reflecting a shift toward modernizing the military for future threats. In summary, lobbying for the Army's budget is a demanding but vital process. On September 11th, multiple air disasters shook the nation, including 2 devastating crashes in New York City, part of a total of 15 major incidents that day. Amid this chaos, a military aircraft, heavily armed with missiles mounted on its wings, flew at high speed over the Pentagon. At first, the author of a first-hand account believed it was a bomb being dropped, overwhelmed by the noise and confusion. However, as the situation became clearer, it was revealed that the plane itself had crashed directly into the Pentagon's outer wall. In the immediate aftermath of the attack on the Pentagon, rescuers faced a harrowing and dangerous mission. Firefighters and emergency personnel worked tirelessly to extinguish raging fires that engulfed parts of the building. Amid the thick smoke and intense heat, teams navigated through damaged corridors, searching for survivors trapped beneath debris. One critical rescue involved pulling a severely injured individual from the burning structure. This act of bravery exemplified the courage and determination of the first responders who risked their lives to save others. However, the situation remained perilous. As firefighters fought to control the flames, they had to prevent rescuers from returning to hazardous areas that were structurally unstable and at risk of collapsing. This difficult decision was necessary to ensure the safety of the rescue teams while prioritizing the overall operation. Despite these precautions, the scale of the tragedy became evident as crews eventually discovered 15 bodies in one corridor alone, victims of the initial impact and ensuing chaos. The Pentagon's history is marked by both great triumphs and profound challenges, reflecting the complex realities of American military engagement throughout the 20th century. One of the most significant and controversial periods was the Vietnam War, which left an indelible mark on the U.S. armed forces and reshaped military strategy, politics, and public perception. The conflict tested the limits of military power and exposed the difficulties of fighting a protracted, unconventional war far from home. During the Vietnam War, the Pentagon served as the central hub for planning and managing military operations. However, one of the most troubling aspects of this period was the distortion of information as it moved up and down the chain of command. Field reports were often altered, intentionally or unintentionally, to present a more favorable view of progress. This phenomenon, sometimes called the body count inflation, involved exaggerating enemy casualties and downplaying setbacks in order to maintain morale and political support. Such distortions created a misleading picture of the war's success and masked the increasing difficulties faced by U.S. forces on the ground. Donald Rumsfeld's return to the Pentagon marked a pivotal moment in both his career and the history of the U.S. Department of Defense. Coming back as Secretary of Defense after previously serving in the 1970s, Rumsfeld arrived with a clear vision: to modernize the military, streamline operations, and prepare the armed forces for emerging threats in the 21st century. His mission was ambitious, aiming to transform a large, complex institution into a more agile and technologically advanced force capable of rapid deployment and flexible response. However, Rumsfeld's plans soon faced an unprecedented challenge. The attacks of September 11th dramatically altered the national security landscape and overshadowed much of his initial agenda. Suddenly, the Pentagon was at the center of a massive crisis, not only as a target of terror but also as the command hub for a global military response. The tragedy demanded immediate action, forcing Rumsfeld and his team to shift their focus from long-term reforms to urgent counterterrorism efforts and military operations overseas. Despite the overwhelming pressure, Rumsfeld used the moment to push forward with his vision of a leaner, more technologically integrated military. He championed innovations like the use of special operations forces, precision-guided munitions, and advanced communication networks, all critical in the wars that followed in Afghanistan and Iraq. Yet, the emotional weight of 9/11 and the intense public scrutiny made leadership at the Pentagon a delicate balancing act between swift military action and navigating political complexities. In the aftermath of the September 11th attacks, the Pentagon played a critical role in managing not only military responses but also the flow of information to the public. One of the most significant moments in this effort was the decision to release a videotape featuring Osama bin Laden, the mastermind behind the attacks. This release was not made lightly. It followed extensive consultations with the White House to ensure that the timing and content aligned with broader national security and political strategies. When the video was made public, it immediately drew intense scrutiny. Translators and analysts carefully examined bin Laden's words, but the translation soon became a point of controversy. Critics argued that the Pentagon's official translation had inaccuracies or biased interpretations that overstated certain threats or intentions. Some independent linguists pointed to ambiguities in the original Arabic and suggested alternative meanings that could soften or alter the perceived message. Despite the backlash, the Pentagon remained steadfast in defending its version of the translation. Officials emphasized that the tape's content was consistent with other intelligence reports, and that it accurately reflected bin Laden's rhetoric and intentions. For the Pentagon, maintaining a consistent narrative was crucial, not only to sustain public support for military actions in Afghanistan and beyond but also to send a clear message to terrorist networks worldwide that the U.S. was vigilant and resolute. The Pentagon's window in question is a precise replica of a historic design, carefully crafted to maintain the building's architectural integrity. However, unlike a typical window, it does not open. This special window serves a critical purpose. It houses an explosion inhibitor and provides protection against nuclear, biological, and chemical attacks, making it a vital part of the Pentagon's defense systems. During the tragic events of September 11, 2001, this window played an unexpected role in saving a life. A person seeking shelter leaned against it, and thanks to its reinforced construction, the window withstood the blast, shielding the individual from deadly debris. The mission of the United States Coast Guard's Homeland Security Service is a critical element in protecting the nation from terrorist threats and ensuring the safety of maritime borders. Operating tirelessly along the country's extensive coastlines, ports, and waterways, this branch of the military is tasked with detecting, deterring, and disrupting terrorist activities before they can reach American soil. Their vigilance extends not only to passenger vessels but also to cargo ships, which are vital to global trade but can also pose significant security risks. One notable example of the Coast Guard's work occurred during the inspection of a foreign-flagged cargo ship entering U.S. territorial waters. These ships undergo thorough checks to verify documentation, the nature of their cargo, and the identity of the crew. On this particular occasion, the boarding team quickly identified several red flags that required immediate attention. First, the paperwork accompanying the ship and its cargo showed discrepancies and inconsistencies, raising suspicions about the ship's true purpose and the legitimacy of its cargo manifest. Upon boarding, the inspection team discovered a crew member who lacked proper documentation entirely. No valid identification or registration, which is a serious violation of maritime security protocols. This individual's presence aboard the ship without legal clearance posed a significant security concern, as it could indicate potential illicit activity or even a security threat. But the surprises didn't end there. Further investigation revealed the presence of unregistered hazardous material, specifically ammonium sulfate. While ammonium sulfate itself is commonly used as a fertilizer, in certain conditions and quantities it can become dangerous or be used in ways that pose a risk to safety and security. The fact that this cargo was not declared or properly documented raised alarms, suggesting potential smuggling or an attempt to transport dangerous substances without detection. Given these findings, the Coast Guard took swift action. The vessel was ordered to leave U.S. territorial waters, preventing it from entering any ports or further impacting American security. The crew member without documentation was detained for questioning, and the hazardous cargo was flagged for investigation by relevant authorities. This incident underscores the importance of constant vigilance in maritime security, where even routine inspections can uncover hidden dangers and prevent possible terrorist activities or smuggling operations. The Coast Guard's ability to identify and respond to such threats demonstrates the multifaceted nature of homeland security in today's interconnected world. Ships travel across oceans and through many jurisdictions, making it vital to have strong protocols and trained personnel ready to act quickly. Through collaboration with other agencies, including customs, intelligence, and law enforcement, the Coast Guard forms a crucial frontline defense that safeguards not only America's shores but global commerce as well. In 1990, the U.S. Air Force developed a groundbreaking strategy known as the Checkmate Plan, which aimed to revolutionize the way military operations were conducted. At the forefront of this initiative was Colonel John Warden, a visionary officer who sought to open the Pentagon to innovative ideas and challenge traditional military thinking. Warden introduced the concept of viewing the enemy not simply as opposing armies, but as an interconnected system, one that could be disrupted and dismantled by targeting critical nodes rather than engaging in prolonged battles. This systemic approach shifted the focus from sheer force to precision, intelligence, and strategy, fundamentally changing how wars would be fought in the modern era. The Gulf War marked a turning point in modern military strategy, largely thanks to the innovative planning of the Checkmate team. This group, led by visionary military strategists, developed a detailed operational plan targeting Iraq's critical infrastructure rather than focusing solely on traditional battlefield engagements. Their goal was to dismantle the enemy's command and control systems, communication networks, and supply lines, essentially crippling the Iraqi war machine from the inside out. One of the key factors enabling this strategy was the use of precision-guided munitions, or smart weapons. These advanced weapons allowed coalition forces to strike a wide range of targets accurately with fewer aircraft sorties. Instead of carpet bombing large areas, the coalition could now hit high-value objectives with surgical precision. This not only reduced collateral damage, but also conserved resources and minimized the risk to pilots and equipment. The campaign involved simultaneous attacks on multiple fronts, creating a coordinated and overwhelming effect on Iraqi forces. By hitting command centers, power plants, air defense systems, and communication hubs all at once, the coalition achieved a state of paralysis within the Iraqi military. This disruption prevented Iraqi commanders from effectively coordinating their troops or responding to the coalition's movements. As a result, the ground offensive faced much less resistance, allowing coalition forces to advance rapidly and decisively. The success of the Gulf War demonstrated the power of modern technology combined with innovative strategy. The Checkmate plan showcased how targeting an enemy's systemic weaknesses rather than just its soldiers could lead to swift and effective victory. The evolution of military technology has advanced at a rapid pace, transforming the way wars are fought around the world. Modern militaries face a constant challenge, balancing the use of proven, reliable methods with the integration of cutting-edge innovations. Modern weaponry has undergone significant advancements, dramatically changing the landscape of warfare. One of the most transformative technologies is the integration of satellite guidance and GPS systems into weapons. These systems allow missiles and bombs to strike targets with incredible precision, minimizing collateral damage and increasing mission success rates. Precision-guided munitions have become the backbone of modern military operations, enabling forces to hit enemy positions accurately even from great distances. In addition to precision weapons, new types of explosives have been developed to address specific tactical challenges. The thermobaric bomb, for example, is designed to destroy fortified bunkers and underground facilities. It works by creating a high-temperature explosion that consumes oxygen in enclosed spaces, causing devastating damage where traditional explosives might fail. The Pentagon is a unique institution where many voices and interests converge, reflecting the complexity of managing the United States military power. At the heart of this power lies the Office of the Secretary of Defense, which controls the budget and allocates resources across the entire Department of Defense. This financial authority translates directly into influence, making budget decisions some of the most important acts within the Pentagon. Within this vast structure, the Army, Navy, and Air Force constantly compete for funding and recognition. Each branch vies to secure the resources it needs to develop new technologies, maintain readiness, and expand capabilities. This competition drives innovation but can also create tension, as limited budgets force difficult choices. In 1992, the Pentagon launched a humanitarian mission to Somalia, a country ravaged by civil war, famine, and widespread chaos. The primary goal was to deliver food and medical aid to millions of starving civilians and help stabilize the country's fragile political situation. Initially, the mission seemed straightforward: protect aid convoys and assist local efforts to rebuild basic infrastructure. However, the situation quickly deteriorated as rival factions and warlords resisted foreign intervention, turning the operation into a dangerous military engagement. The tension reached a critical point in October 1993 during an operation aimed at capturing key militia leaders responsible for much of the violence. What was intended as a targeted raid escalated into a fierce firefight in the capital city, Mogadishu. American forces, including elite Army Rangers and Delta Force operators, found themselves trapped in hostile urban terrain. The battle lasted through the night, and amidst the chaos, 2 Black Hawk helicopters were shot down. The downing of these helicopters triggered a desperate rescue effort but also resulted in heavy casualties. 18 American soldiers lost their lives, many during close-quarters combat with heavily armed militia fighters. The images of dead and wounded soldiers being dragged through the streets shocked the American public and sent ripples through the Pentagon and the entire military establishment. This incident, often referred to as the Black Hawk Down event, exposed the limits of U.S. military power in complex urban conflicts, and highlighted the risks of missions that blur the lines between humanitarian aid and combat operations. It led to intense scrutiny of Pentagon decision-making and a reevaluation of how the United States engages in foreign interventions, especially in unstable regions with unclear political dynamics. The Somalia experience had lasting effects on U.S. military strategy and policy. In modern warfare, intelligence gathering and secure communication are absolutely critical components that can determine the outcome of a conflict. The Pentagon relies heavily on advanced technology to collect and analyze vast amounts of information from around the globe. Satellites orbiting more than 400 miles above the Earth continuously send back high-resolution images, enabling military planners to monitor enemy movements, identify strategic targets, and assess battlefield conditions in real time. This capability allows for rapid decision-making and precise strikes, often reducing collateral damage and increasing operational effectiveness. However, despite these technological advantages, the Pentagon remains deeply concerned about the human element involved in intelligence collection. While satellites and drones provide invaluable data, they cannot replace the nuanced insights gathered through human intelligence, or HUMINT. Spies, informants, and operatives on the ground play a vital role in understanding the intentions, plans, and morale of adversaries, details that satellites simply cannot capture. The quality of this human-sourced intelligence is crucial, yet it is vulnerable to challenges such as misinformation, betrayal, and the difficulty of operating covertly in hostile environments. To address these concerns, the Pentagon invests heavily in training and supporting intelligence personnel, ensuring they have the skills and resources needed to operate effectively and safely. The balance between cutting-edge technology and reliable human intelligence defines the modern intelligence apparatus. The Pentagon's ongoing efforts to enhance both aspects reflect the understanding that in today's complex and fast-paced conflicts, success depends on not only seeing the battlefield from space but also truly understanding the human factors that shape war. Unmanned aerial vehicles, or UAVs, are rapidly transforming the landscape of modern warfare. These drones are gaining prominence for their ability to perform extended surveillance and precision strikes without risking pilot lives. Unlike traditional manned aircraft, UAVs can hover over hostile territory for hours, providing continuous intelligence and real-time video feeds. This capability allows military commanders to monitor enemy movements, gather crucial information, and strike targets with unparalleled accuracy. In conflict zones like Afghanistan, drones have become essential tools, giving U.S. forces air superiority and enabling them to track high-value targets over long periods without interruption. The strategic advantage provided by UAVs extends beyond simple reconnaissance. Armed drones have been used to carry out targeted strikes against insurgent leaders and enemy infrastructure, minimizing collateral damage and reducing the need for large-scale troop deployments. Their ability to operate remotely from thousands of miles away has fundamentally changed how the military conducts operations, making warfare more precise and efficient. Looking ahead, the role of drones in combat is set to expand even further with the development of unmanned combat aerial vehicles (UCAVs). These advanced drones are expected to possess autonomous capabilities, meaning they can identify, select, and engage targets with minimal human intervention. This level of automation could revolutionize warfare by increasing the speed and effectiveness of strikes while reducing the cognitive load on human operators. The integration of artificial intelligence in UCAVs promises quicker decision-making and enhanced adaptability on dynamic battlefields. However, the increasing automation of combat raises important ethical and strategic questions. As drones take on more autonomous roles, ensuring strict control and accountability becomes critical to prevent unintended consequences. Despite these challenges, the trend toward drone warfare and automated combat systems continues unabated. The Pentagon and allied forces are heavily investing in UAV technologies to maintain their technological edge. the future battlefield is likely to be dominated by a mix of manned and unmanned platforms working together seamlessly, leveraging the unique strengths of each. The mission of the Pentagon is driven by a strong sense of shared purpose and the commitment of every employee to achieve success. Leaders within the Pentagon remain constantly aware of the difficult and dangerous challenges ahead, especially in the ongoing fight against terrorism. Their goal is to stay one step ahead of hostile forces, anticipating threats before they materialize. The Pentagon was built as the center of the United States military efforts to prevent and fight wars. Its success or failure carries global significance, as decisions made within its walls directly impact international security and stability. This iconic building remains a serious and vital hub where military strategy, defense planning, and global security policies are shaped. The future of many nations often depends on the actions taken inside the Pentagon, making it a symbol of power, responsibility, and the ongoing struggle to maintain peace in a complex world.